When John F. Kennedy was president, half the people in this country made their living from farming, either directly or indirectly. That's why you saw so many family farms that would grow a whole lot of different things, a big diversity of product. They could sell everything and they had a market for all of it. Today, 60 years later, 1.5 people out of every 100 are responsible for feeding everyone else in this country. It's become a day of specialization. Economics means it's hard to grow a little of this and a little of that and be profitable and make money. That's why the family farm as we know it has disappeared. But we found one. Come on, let me take you where the food comes from. I am somewhere in South Georgia. There seems to be much disagreement about where, kind of the middle of nowhere, so I can understand that, but even this farm's website doesn't agree about where it is. Some say it is in Abbeville, Georgia. Some say it's in Rochelle, Georgia. It's around there somewhere. You should be able to find it. Whatever, wherever it is, the Gibbs family farm is a modern marvel. It's a throwback to another era when farm families were self-sufficient. They could take care of themselves. They didn't need help from outside. They were able to make their living off of what they grew and sold to others and could feed themselves. And that's what's happening right here, wherever we are. So many farm families are just that. And daddy was a farmer, and granddaddy was a farmer, and great-granddaddy was a farmer. Now you've been around cattle pretty much your whole life, but you're the first farmer in your family, I believe.
Yes, sir. I started this from scratch.
What on earth made you think that would be a good idea?
I just, in high school, as being a kid, and then a young adult to get to go and work on a farm and drive the tractors, I thought it was just the greatest thing ever. Then as I got older, I really got to considering it. Well, when that day come and you finally graduate high school, all that's left is the real world. So you got to make a decision pretty quick.
Very true.
So I decided to farm.
Eric, this is maybe the most underappreciated vegetable in the world. I think everybody on the planet takes green beans for granted. Somebody got to grow green beans because we sure do eat a lot of them in this country. Even though we're in South Georgia, blistering hot, these beans aren't going to Georgia.
No, sir.
Where are these beans going?
These beans are headed north. They either going to Philadelphia or they're going to Canada.
Even as a family farming operation, who's taking these Georgia-grown green beans and sharing them with all them good folks in the Northeast and even some very lucky Canadians.
Yes, sir.
Now, how do these things come out of the ground? Can we pull one up and look at it?
Yes, sir.
Is this what you would do? You would just pull the whole stalk up out of the ground?
This is the exact way they would do it. They pull it up, hold it in a downward motion, grab the beans, and just flick them off. These are hand-picked, that's the way we do it. Machine harvest is a big thing that is done, but it does a bruise on a bean, and that cuts down on the shelf life.
That's the thing that we see in produce, and we look at all the automation and things like grain production and things like that. They just send a robot out there to do all the work. We can't really do that in a soft fruit and vegetable world.
I mean, there is still a market out there for hand-picked green beans because the shelf life is longer. When they're machine packed, they're packed in trailers.
All right,
and they go through a heat.
Can I pull one of these up?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's see if I can still do this. Now, it's not that it's not like I've never picked a green bean before, but it has been a minute. So let's see. There they are, and I'm pulling this way.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Daddy would not approve of that.
Just flick straight upward.
Flick straight upward. There they come right off. We'll carry these back for lunch, but the rest of these beans will be on their way to people before the end of this day.
Yes, sir.
And they will be in people's hands and on their plates.
They will be at a market in the morning, ready to be picked up by tomorrow at dinner, tomorrow night for supper.
Somebody will be eating
They
these.
can be states and states away, and they can be on their plate, their table.
We got a lot else to see, Eric. Let's keep moving. What do you say?
Yes, sir.
I'm carrying these with me.
Yes, sir.
Pick a few more off. Eric, this is something that I am really used to seeing from growing up in the South. This is a purple hull pea, and you can hear why. You can tell why it's called a purple. What's the name of it? I mean,
this is a cornet, which is called a pink eye purple hull.
I think I pulled that one's not quite ready.
No, hey, it's ready. As long as you got your purple, it's going to shell out fine for you.
Let me see if I remember how to do this. We're seeing purple hulls everywhere. I still see some little green ones.
Yes, sir.
So that's not ready. We
No,
pull
sir.
that now, it's not gonna do.
That's
It'll
about-
have some little immature peas in it.
That pea right there will be this pea right here in about 4 days.
4 days.
And this
So just that far behind.
and this pea right here will be that purple pea in 7 days. So that's 3 different pickings. That you see
Okay,
right
so once
here.
it's ripened to this point, it's time for this one to come off of this plant.
Yes, sir.
This one will come off 4 days from now.
Yep.
And how long will these keep bearing through the summer?
We are typically from the first time we pick in them, we're typically in them for about 21 days,
All right.
for about 3 weeks.
Then what would you do with this field after that harvest?
After this harvest here, when we are completed here, we will turn around and then plant sorghum back in these fields.
You've got to know what's going in any of these fields, and you have to know for the soil health, for the crop health, what can you plant, when do you need to not plant, what's going to take this out of the soil, what's going to put this into the soil, the science of farming standpoint, plan all of this kind of stuff. That's a busy calendar.
A pea is considered a legume.
Yeah.
So that's the same as a peanut.
Sure.
So the land that we grow peas on, we don't grow peanuts. So the same crop that we'll plant behind it, like a grain crop, that is great to put back dry matter.
That's gonna
in your stalking,
replenish the
what you
field.
pull from it.
And then when you're ready to plant these peas next year, this will be a viable, healthy field,
Grow.
ready to do this all over again, and for me to come back and get some more peas.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's keep moving, Eric.
All right.
So when we're out in your pea field, those peas are gonna have a season where they bear. They're gonna harvest 21 days.
Yes.
Then that field's gonna get plowed under, replanted in a silage crop to create
Yeah.
feed for the cattle.
Yes, sir.
That's stewardship, isn't it?
Well, hey,
That's that circle. You've got to keep utilizing your resources.
yeah, so you've got to take the land that you have and push it to the max. Now, on doing that, you're gonna have some extra input cost in there. You're gonna have some extra fertility, some pH, but in today's times, the only way you're gonna sustain is you got to take every acre that you farm, get the most that you can out of it, and you've got to plan the crop to the land. And I think that's a misdeception. A lot that happens in farms today is that you want to take any crop and say, hey, we're going to grow this. Well, none of our land is all the same. The good Lord made it all different. Where we first went out there to that snap bean field, that land there has got a lot of red iron ore rocks in it. If you notice that, it had a lot of rocks on top of the ground. Well, in the early spring, them iron ore rocks, they soak up the sun. So when we have cool nights and we prepare a seed bed and plant, them rocks act as a heater, and it makes that soil bed warmer. So we can get a germination. I can get them crops in earlier on that type of land. And hey, we can get a stand.
So in other words, you didn't come in here and say, I'm gonna start a farm and I'm gonna grow this, 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 and this. You came in here and said, I'm gonna start a farm. First thing I gotta do is find some land.
Yes, sir.
Then you had to take what land became available for you to purchase. And it didn't matter if it was good land, bad land. Now, there's also commercial flowers,
Yes, sir.
pumpkins, gourds. And where we're sitting, they might think we're just out in a warehouse or storehouse or something, but we're on the front porch of your store.
Yes, sir.
This is actually the Gibbs Farm store, one of 2 locations, I might add. You had to figure out what you could do with that land, and that's how you decided
That's how we got
what you were going to grow.
Yes, sir.
And it's all grown to this.
Yes, sir.
There's no way to disconnect family and farming.
No, sir.
You just can't do it. I mean, even in this day and era that we think of as corporate farming, according to USDA, 97% of all farms, no matter how big they are still family owned.
Yes, sir.
They're still family farms. So you cannot take farming and family and put them apart. Your labor force here, you've got help that you bring in to do a little bit of this and that, but you've got yourself and 4 key employees. Tell me
Yes.
about who they are.
Well, I have my wife. Hey, I would have to say, hey, she is one of the backbones of the operation. We kind of got the American love story. We dated the end of high school, got married after, had children. We have 3 children, 2 girls and 1 boy. And I think that's where, on a family farm, you've got to find what makes you happy. And that's no different in life or what kind of career that you choose.
Farm kid life's different, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
What's your day like? What time y'all get up?
Matters on the year. Summer, we have to be at work at 8, so we get up about 6:30.
So yeah, are you out of school now?
We are, yes, sir.
And you're getting up at 6:30 in the morning in the summertime?
Yes, sir. We still got to feed cows.
Now, you not only got into cattle and appreciating cattle, you have become a show person.
Yes.
Folks at home might not know what that means, but you are raising cattle to enter into competitions and go, my cow's better than your cow.
Oh, yes. That happens a lot, but
I'm sure it does.
It does.
But when did you start competing?
I started showing cows my 8th grade year.
8th grade.
Yes.
You already knew enough by 8th grade.
I did.
I would love to see an 8th grader in my neighborhood in Tampa, Florida, even try to pet a cow. All right, where do you fit in around here?
Oof, we're pretty much, me and EllaGrace both show cows, so we take in charge.
So you're
of
on the
that.
cow side too?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how old were you when you looked up and went, oh, moo cow?
I was probably 11 years old then.
All right, so it took
I
you a
just
minute
turned
longer.
11, yes,
Oh, okay. So you jumped right in.
I did.
You took a while to figure out what you wanted to do with your
Yes, sir. I
life.
started my 5th grade year.
Man, they say if you don't know by 11, it's too late, right? I know y'all go to school with some kids who understand this life and are part of this life, but I'm sure you also go to school with kids who don't. What do they think when y'all tell them what you do and what your days are like?
We're
And
the
if they
Gibbs
come
kids.
visit and things. So they know, they already know.
We are classified as the Gibbs kids.
The Gibbs kids, the Gibbs kids. And their mama and daddy's coming to this store and buying y'all's peas and food and eating your watermelons and everything else. So y'all are celebrities around here.
Small town famous.
That's what I'm talking about. Country fabulous is what I call it. So, Cotton, you check in at the ripe old age of 9. And we already talked about you driving a tractor, I think, today. That's kind of the reward factor, right?
Yes, sir.
But we also see you doing other things like hauling a trailer around, picking up watermelons about the size that you are. Probably weigh as much as you do.
There was one time it weighed about 54 pounds.
What do you weigh?
I weigh 72.
Oh, okay. So it was only 2/3 of your weight that you had to lift and put in the wagon and carry along. Well, that's nothing. What's a day like for you in the summertime? When you get up in the morning at 6:30, you go turn on cartoons and eat cereal?
I might do it every now and then.
Okay. Well, that's fair. I think you earn to every now and then.
Yeah.
But when you're done with your cereal, what do you have to do?
I have to come to the barn and they'll put me to work.
Oh, for Pete's sake. Do you ever look at the kids in the city and the kids in the suburbs and the kids doing all those things? Are you ever jealous of any of that? No?
Because we can go down here and drive and not see nobody. You just do your own little life. It's pretty amazing.
Call your own shot. Mm-hmm. Long as mom and daddy don't get mad at you, you're in good shape, right?
Yes, sir.
What's your most important job around here? Because you got about 40.
I'm in charge of these 2 packing houses right here. And out of these 2 barns, we shell the peas and the butter beans. Mm-hmm. When we shell them, we send them out to markets, to wholesale houses. So that is my main job.
So you're actually overseeing the manufacturing process,
yes.
the packaging process.
Yes.
Again, like most farm wives and farm people, you're not taking credit for something. Those are yours. The flowers, the pumpkins, the squash, that's your hands-on farming.
Right. About 3 years ago, we started growing zinnias out in the front of the packing house. When I was a little girl, my mama used to take me to a zinnia patch. Mm-hmm. So I always told Eric one day I was gonna have my own flowers. 3 years ago, we started growing these out here. Mm-hmm. But we have water lines that's ran out there and I have to keep all that going. And then we've got pumpkins this year out here and we've got squash.
Now the flowers, do you sell those commercially?
Yes, 10 cents a stem. People will come in, get a pair of scissors.
And they'll just come and make a nice bouquet
yes.
and go home.
Yes, that's right.
And it looks like we bellied up to the bar to have a glass of something cool, but we're actually in your store.
Yes, sir.
That's on the homestead, farmstead, and the people just line up here and come through this door and give you
Correct.
money and leave with product.
Correct.
The scope of this operation is honestly mind-boggling. How do y'all keep track of it all?
Hey, that is difficult. But hey, we do a very good job. At the end of the day, we do not literally, and this sounds crazy probably to y'all, I don't put anything in the computer. I put everything on paper. Everything still goes on paper. It's filed.
My wife would love that so much.
I just, that's how I roll. I'm old school.
Well, farming is not always going to be the most profitable, but it can be the most rewarding. Not only that you take a seed and you grow something to a bountiful harvest, but you get a piece of satisfaction knowing that you gave 110%. That's what you try to instill to your children of anything that they're going to do in life. If it's worth doing, you do 110% at it. And in the end, it will work out. There has been a lot of bumps in the road, but you get to teach through your everyday actions. And your kids get to see what the real value of hard work and dedication is.
About half the people around the world depend on subsistence farming to survive. They grow food to feed their families and themselves, just to stay alive. We're fortunate enough in this country and in the developed world that the efforts, the very difficult efforts of a very few, can feed so many. And that in this country, a family farm can be based on love, spirit, and hope. Out here, where the food comes from.